Welcome to the podcast, which is all about the world of direct response. Through television, are we on the air? I'm your host, Sean Wilson. For over 30 years, I hosted shows on cable shopping networks. Now I want to be your guide into this world as we take a look at the ever-changing nature of DRTV. This is the most impromptu show I have ever done for a number of reasons. I'd already been planning on making this the last show of the season. I like to take the summer off. It's just summers are always busy. And so I kind of put the brake on things until September. And something was telling me to just wait. Because I was going to do this weeks ago. And it's like when Grandma's sacroiliac would predict the rain, something was predicting that I should just wait to record that last show of the season. And today's the day. For the record, June 29th, 2023. Actually, two other things that I do need to bring up before we get to the topic of the day. Some of you might know what the topic of the day is, and some may not. So we'll just leave it at that for a moment. Because there were also this past week a couple just sad things that just happened, and one that really hit me was the death of one of the original hosts of this entire industry, Alice Cleveland. She was one of the original HSN hosts, and then went on to be a guest, was on HSN. I think she was even on QVC, if I remember correctly. She was one of the original doll hosts, and selling dolls on TV, that was a huge thing. Doll collectors, there is no collectible industry at all anymore. But doll collecting in particular had a huge, very, very dedicated following, and she was one of the few people. Alice Cleveland, Tina Berry on HSN, Carmela Richards on CVN, and then later the network we'll talk about. I did them very successfully, not to pat myself on the back too much, and it was one of their male hosts on Home Shopping, and I can't think of his name right now. And that's about it, because dolls were a very tough sell, because there's the practical part of it, size of the doll specifications, but then there's an emotional connection, and Alice was brilliant at doing doll shows, and she passed away after a very brave fight with cancer, and so we're all very saddened. I reactivated my Facebook account just for a day, just to go into an HSN group that I'm part of, just to offer my condolences to everyone, because it was so sad. I got some quick audio I want to play of Alice. Now, this is really old. This is old school home shopping. This is before QVC, before CVN, 1985, I'm guessing. They had just gone national, I think. And so this is some really old school audio. Alice is, let me get this set up here. Alice is about to start, hang on. I'll explain that in a second. How do I make, I was about to say, how do I make that go away? Well, it's audio of ShopHQ. I don't think I'll have that problem. Anyway, bad on me. So anyway, this is some, has to be 1985 audio of Alice Cleveland on Home Shopping Club.
If you've been trying to call in, for that blue fox fur jacket, it's gone, unfortunately. But I hope my honey called in. Well, anyways, it's gone. So please, no longer try
to
call
introduce
in.
a frying pan.
It has left your screen. It's left our computers. We're looking at the Corningware skillet. This will retail out in a store, out in a department store, for $37.50. Yeah, absolutely. And I know you've seen them for more. All right, but we're going to give it to you. We've had it at higher prices, but the lowest price we've ever had this for. We're going to do it for you again today. $9.75. That's under $10. Under $10, folks, for the Corningware. Alrighty.
It was so subtle back then, wasn't it? Just
Corningware, range shopper.
Very quiet, very demure.
Bonuses include the good looks. Yeah, it's very, very handsome. It's very attractive. You can, as you well know, from the Corningware, dishwasher safe and refrigerator to range top to oven to table. Take this straight out of the freezer if you got something in there for your sweetheart. Take it straight out of the freezer, put it on the scale on the top of the range or in the oven, and then to the table, and it still looks nice because you don't have to change the pan.
You notice one of the things, too, back then was kind of interesting. The initial pitch on any item that they put on Home Shopping Club was just a little bit of script that the host would read. That would be their initial pitch. Then they start taking phone calls, and they'd ad-lib a little bit, and then they'd pretty much go right back into, they would pitch it again midway they read their little script, and then more calls, and then once more as they wrap it up. So it was a very different format, and that's one of the reasons why QVC became so successful, is they took the opposite approach. But we lost Alice very sadly just a couple days ago. Anyway, but the other reason that we are here, obviously paying tribute to Alice. Also, the big news of today, anyways, as we record this, is the announcement, which it's been interesting. My phone has exploded all day today. I've been trying to work a real job today, but it's hard to when I'm getting constant messages from people. What's going on? What's going on? For those that don't know, iMedia made it official today, and they have filed for bankruptcy, Chapter 11 protection in the courts. And the first question, obviously, is what does that mean for ShopHQ? Well, for the time being, nothing. They will continue to operate. You have to remember this is a restructuring sort of bankruptcy. And right before this show, I spent a few minutes reading the entire 20 pages of the bankruptcy filing, and I'll kind of summarize that in a little bit. But for now, it really doesn't mean anything. No change in their day-to-day operation. They're still on the air. In fact, that was the audio that I had up.
Like how this feels. Honestly, it feels so good. The vibration feels
ShopHQ,
amazing.
and so they're still on the air. Interesting, though, at this time when I'm recording this, it is a tape presentation, and the reason that they're on tape right now is because the entire of the company is in a town hall meeting. I'm sure hearing about the fate of the company. I've had a lot of rumors handed my way over the course of the day. I'm not going to acknowledge any of them because we don't know what the truth is. But remember, this is a chance for iMedia to either restructure or maybe get a new owner. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. But for now, the products are still on the air. It is interesting when you read the bankruptcy filing. Not that reading bankruptcy filings are interesting, but the list of creditors and how much they are owed, because it's part of the filing. This is public knowledge. If you care to see it for yourself, you can look it up. So that's the only reason I'm going to share this is because this is in a public filing now. This is the list of creditors who have the 50 largest unsecured claims and are not insiders. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Number 1, U.S. Bank, unsecured claim $81 million. AT&T right after that, $19 million. Dish Network is owed $10 million. And again, just scanning down here, AT&T Uverse, $5 million. Sterling Time, now we start to get into some of the vendors, $3.7 million. Charter Communications owed $3.7 million. Mackenzie Childs, again, vendor, has a trade claim, $3.5 million. Sterling Apparel, $3.2 million. Again, a lot of these I'm just skipping over. UPS, $2.4 million. Fisker's Living, $2 million. Isomers Laboratories, $1.6 million. A lot of these are banks and institutions, so I'm just skipping those. And if you wanted to see the Fabulous Furs, Donna Saylor's Fabulous Furs, $980,000. Let's see, any others of interest? There's some jewelry companies here. Wells Fargo Equipment Finance, operating. But anyway, so you can find that whole list if you want. What went wrong? What went wrong? Why are we here? Why are we at the point where iMedia, the parent of ShopHQ, is filing bankruptcy? And this is where I've decided just to speak just kind of off the cuff. I have no planned notes. I have nothing in front of me. I was there almost first day when it started as ValueVision in the early 90s. And so this is not a fun day for me watching this. I've had a lot of people say to me, who saw this coming? And to a degree, you're right. There have been many times over the past couple decades where we thought that this was it and that the bankruptcy was imminent, and they always recovered. There was always someone there to save them. And so this is, for a lot of us, it's not a surprise, but it's not by any means a pleasant moment. Again, it's companies go through Chapter 11. And for those that don't know the difference, again, remember a Chapter 11 filing, the debtor remains in possession, has the powers and duties of a trustee, may continue to operate its business, and may, with court approval, borrow new money. It makes it very difficult for you to get new vendors, however, because most companies aren't going to want to do business with someone who is going through bankruptcy. Many corporations have gone through bankruptcy and have survived beautifully. Many have not. Where will this one go? Who knows? And again, I've heard a lot of rumors as to what's going to happen. I'm not going to acknowledge any of those. We'll see what happens. But my role here is what went wrong. And again, I think there's a lot of finger pointing that could happen. It does hurt me, as I was starting to say, to see this happen, just because was my baby, and I gave 20 years of my life to this company. They're going back live now. Oh, that's not live. No, that is as recorded as it can get. And so it hurts me. During the very earliest of days, where do I think things went wrong? Let me get to that, because again, I'm just working off the cuff here. Earliest days, it was a very lean operation, and I think that was the biggest thing it had going for it. Very early on, when Montgomery Ward got involved with the network, I'll never forget our CEO saying one of the things that the executives at Montgomery Ward were so impressed with is, again, they were kind of a discount organization, is the fact we didn't have a lavish facility. It was very plain, very stark, nothing glamorous necessarily about it. If you've ever seen the Walmart headquarters in Arkansas, it's the same kind of thing. It's not glamorous at all. It's very utilitarian. It serves its purpose. We are a business, and we are economical. And I think that was one of the great things about ValueVision, is they recognize that. Oh, they're back live.
We're all having a wonderful Thursday evening. My name is Allie Crane.
Yeah, I don't think you're having a
host
wonderful
for this
Thursday
next
evening.
Hour. And this hour is really all about the house, all about the home.
Yeah, they're just going on like, it's just another day, which is smart. That's what you want to do.
But I do want to take a quick second to show
to get my resume ready.
You may not have seen before. So I'm on the final quantities of this best-selling Brooke and Nora natural goat milk.
Yeah, and there again, where do things go wrong? They used to have a great goat milk vendor, and they lost him to QVC, didn't they? So, but no, it's so. I look back and I say it's at one point the economical. Let's be smart about how we spend our money went away. And I can tell you when it happened. It was under the third CEO. I think when things started to change to that end. I'm going to watch my use of names closely, just because I don't want to, be fighting off lawyers. And this is my opinion. And I started to see him throwing a lot of money around, hiring a lot of people. And I kept thinking, why do we need these people? We have a very talented organization here that is capable to do all of these jobs, and I'm talking about executives and buyers and management and merchants and all of these individuals that the company was functioning very well with, and he started hiring all these people. I think there's an old adage, if you're going to run with the big dogs, you got to get off the porch, and it's kind of maybe a Southern thing. And I think there was that attitude that, well, if we want to be QVC and HSN, we need to do all of these things and have all of these people to help us out. And at the time, they had the money to do this. And then when money started getting tight, they had to start letting some of these people go. But there was always this attitude after that point, and this would have been early 2000s, when I really started to see the change in attitude, that we have to act internally like we're QVC, even if we're not. And this was before the QVC management even came in. We need to behave and have all of these things. I'll never forget. It was one of those reminders that you get on your phone. It's like I had just posted about 13, 14 years ago, that our production team, they were losing their break room because the hosts needed a beauty parlor. And so the company was replacing the production break room so that the hosts and the guests could have beauticians come in and do their hair and makeup. They were functioning just fine without that. There was no need for that, to hire all of these people to come in. And so they started taking things up all these notches and all these levels, and they didn't have the money, frankly, to do it. The sales didn't justify it, and the time and attention would have been much better spent somewhere else. Product. Maybe just taking a look at what QVC and HSN does, and maybe not copying it. Someone wrote a great article, and again, if I start rambling, I apologize. But again, this is free thought, free association right here. Someone wrote a great article a few years ago, I think maybe for Bloomberg, and said ShopHQ, or maybe they were Evine at the time. Who knows? Who cares? Looks like TV shopping did in the 1990s, and they nailed it. Their look never evolved. It never changed. It never grew out of that format. Whether it was the sets, they never had any depth to their sets, and to this date still don't. Whether it was the graphics, anything at all, they were still doing full previews and full recaps when the other networks had long abandoned that. So they were always playing catch up. I'll never forget the day, and I goof on it to this day, basically, my big TLV, I used to do what they call them, TTVs, whatever the hell it was. I used to do those launches at 11 p.m. Central Time every night. And I was launching the Cuddle Up. It's a blanket you can wear. And I pretty much goofed on this whole, we wound up selling, pardon my language, a shit ton of them because I wore it nonstop for 3 hours and was obsessing over it. And it was $10 more than QVC or HSN had been selling the Slanket or whatever it was for years prior to that. But again, they made a big deal about that. We've got the Cuddle Up. I wound up buying 4 of the stupid things. Great gift. It was fun. But anyway, so they were always behind the curve. There's a chart, and I can't think of what you call the chart. It's a graph that shows every product has a cycle. And just picture a hill. And you always want to be on the upside of that hill. So your sales go up, and then you're going to peak, and then you're going to go down the other side of the hill. ShopHQ, ShopNBC, whatever the hell, they were always on, when the products were on the back side of that curve on the other networks, they were just getting into it. I'm hard-pressed to think of a time they were an innovator. When did they innovate something? Oh, I know, watches, selling watches on TV. The only place, late 90s, early 2000s, and next season, I will have Tim on. He's promised to come on to talk about this, where they really led the way. And then hands started getting involved. And I have a list as long as my arms of things like this. Bid Bash, the show I was doing. Get successful, everyone wants a part of it. And so the buyers, and this is how Invicta came to be, really made it all about Invicta and nothing else. Croton was doing amazing numbers there. Android, Wing Lang, brilliant product. Couldn't get airtime. Could not get airtime because Invicta became the dominant brand. Now, watching myself again, because I don't want to get into too much trouble. Why did Invicta get so much airtime? And so, again, were there buyers, management who maybe had some part of this? Yeah. Did they have ulterior motives for it? I have no evidence of that, so I'm not going to say anything, and I'll leave it at that. But definitely Invicta made their way in, became the big thing, and you could not be a watch vendor at ShopNBC, I guess at the time, anymore. You couldn't. You would not get airtime. Early 2000s, and I'm yet to really talk about this either, a network popped up in North Minneapolis called WSS. And Tim would be a good one to talk about this, actually, too. And they stole most of the hosts. I stayed at ShopNBC, didn't go. Most of the hosts, and was probably the closest thing to a competitor, but it was very poorly run, poorly operated for a lot of reasons. And what happened there was they rolled up the Brinks truck, basically, to any host, to any producer, to anyone from ShopNBC that wanted to go across town to WSS. That made ShopNBC have to counter that by offering their employees a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. I got a damn good raise at that place. And I had just gotten one about 6 months prior because they didn't want me to go because Tim had already left, so they had no watch guy. And so they paid me well to stay. Fine, I stayed. So it's just another example of where they're throwing money around and not being wise about it. And this was under the same regime I mentioned earlier that I think kind of started spending money foolishly. But once you start doing that, it's hard to back up. Once you've started spending money and you've hired all these people and you have this mentality that we need to have, they built $1 million control room. They didn't need $1 million control room. They built $1 million control room. Other networks had call screeners. I mentioned this before. We had to hire a call screener. Did we need a call screener? We were getting no calls. So why did we have a call screener? So they started spending all this money. And once you do this, you get this attitude, you can't go back. You cannot go back from that. And so the cycle just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the money just kept getting more and more and more. And the vendors that were there became the favorites, became the priorities. And there was no room for competition for these vendors. And so part of the reason why people are, why do I see the same 5 products all the time? Well, you have the same 5 vendors all the time. And so there was no room for anyone else to come in because at QVC, how many, man, I mean, just imagine you could do a Family Feud question, you know, name a beauty line on QVC. You'd have the top 20 answers on the board. a fashion line. It's all about all these different products and differentiating them and building a brand around them. And ShopHQ, NBC, Evine, ValueVision didn't take the time to do that. They had the favorites that generated the money, and they never took the time to build those other brands. And this is true off of a lot of different CEOs. So I'm not just saying that this was true in the early 2000s. I saw this repeatedly in my time there, that no time was built to build a brand. If it didn't work the first time, plug was pulled. And it became an ongoing joke. It's like, well, whatever happened to XYZ brand? Didn't work the first time. Okay, it's gone. And you knew after the first show. I would feel terribly. We'd have a brand new guest on, new vendor, great product, sales weren't there. And, we'd be like, well, maybe next time's going to be better. And I just have to say, yep, next time. Yep, that's it. Going to be better. And there never was a next time. Because they didn't take the time to build the brands. They didn't take the time to give anybody else the chance to show how good they were. Unless they were somehow maybe connected to someone else that was already there, then second, third, and fourth chances would be granted. But that, to me, was a big part of the problem. Going back, though, to they never left the 90s with their presentations. To this day, even as I'm streaming them right now, just watching them, they're doing all the things that were done in the 1990s in TV shopping. So, by the way, one other thing, and I've been meaning to do this for a while, so I'm gonna work this out here just because it's convenient at the moment. Under the legal thing, I was there when the decision was made, and this is one thing they did stick with, to stop pointing out retail value and point out discount off the ShopNBC price, ShopHQ price. To this day, again, they still do this. This has a ShopHQ price of $1,295, and we're selling it today for $88. How is that possible? Well, because at 3 in the morning, for 10 minutes on their website, it did sell. Not that any were bought, but it was available at $1,295. So that's how they justify saying that this was a $1,300 item, when in fact you never saw it on TV for that price. You're never going to sell it for that price. It's very disingenuous to do that. And I hope people caught on to that and said, that's not a very honest way to do business. But I think a lot of people haven't caught on to that. The overuse of value pay. It was 6 payments on everything for a while. Right now they're showing a $20 item. It's on 5 payments of $4. I was there when that started. And we warned management. Once you go down this slippery slope, you're never going to get out of this. You're going to have 4 payments, 5 payments, and eventually 6 payments on everything. Everything. And to this day, they do. They can't sell anything if it's not on payments. Somewhere, and I'll have to find the picture, I have saved a screen grab of a pen refill. It might have been an Invicta pen. First payment, $1.66 gets it home. They had to have payment plans on everything. Do you know how that started, by the way? That was a CVN thing. That was not a QVC thing. It was at CVN. They were the first network, cable value network. They called it Value Pay, and then when QVC bought CVN, they were able to get the rights to that term. And they were the first to do it because it kept open to buy for the customers. It had nothing to do with helping to push product. It kept open to buy for the customers. That's the only reason for it, so that they had more room to shop. It was never meant to be a sales incentive, and it's just been corrupted that way since. So they overused all of that, and they can't sell a product without it. Again, I could go on probably for 3 hours about this, 23 minutes of me rambling. How many of you are even still listening to this? Huh? But when I look at what went wrong, it's... And I have very mixed emotions about because here's what happened. Chain of events. ValueVision, CEO. Nick, I got on with him great. He was a very polarizing individual. Gene McCaffrey comes in, led us very strongly through some tough times, late 90s, early 2000s. The events of 9/11 and the lack of sales after that could have killed us. Then didn't. Then we had Will come in as the CEO. We had Renee, who was there for 6 months, blink of an eye. Anyway, do a show on that, but nobody would care. Then the QVC team came in, and this is where we've mentioned Keith Stewart before when I've had Marvin on. His team came in, and their whole attitude was, here's what worked at QVC, because most of these people had QVC experience, and I get that. It did work for them. I don't want to be them. I think we need to stand out, and I still to this day think, frankly, I think there's still a place for that, and I think that's maybe where ShopLC is successful, is being the counter programming to QVC. But the whole presentation, everything had to be just like QVC did it. The irony is even QVC had started to move away from these things because QVC kept evolving. And have they evolved now to a different level, or maybe they shouldn't be? I don't know. That's a whole nother show. But those things like full previews and total recap of the show and all, they don't do that anymore. So we were still doing that at ShopNBC. So I think when that management team came in and said this is the way to do it, that was almost the nail in the coffin, because even though they were successful and they brought the sales around nicely and the stock price recovered very nicely, as someone who was investing then, that was nice, but it still never turned to full profitability, and it was still a struggle. They still had a bloated, I believe, infrastructure with management and buyers and merchants and all these people that could have done the job. Would it have been harder work? Yeah, but you know what? Hard work still gets the job done. The number of times I was trying to reach people at 6 a.m. or midnight for something, and nobody's answering. This is a 24/7 operation and was never treated as such. So, except with Marvin, ironically, he's the one that I'd see him at 6 in the morning, I'd see him at 1 in the morning, so he was always there. But and I think it's where the friendship came from, was just I really like that work ethic that he had. But anyway, and so when you're taking these approaches that might have worked before and thinking, well, this is still the way to do it, without even embracing any chance that there might be a tweak to this, I think that's where the brick wall was hit. So that team was replaced, and frankly, after that, I don't know about any of the management teams that have been there, and there have been several, but I just know what I see, and I know what I hear, and it still looks outdated. And they have even fewer vendors than they did before. And I've gone down this rant before about how I just laugh now when they would do their yearly or their quarterly reports. We launched 16 new vendors this quarter. Yeah, and how many are still around the next quarter? It's none. So it's disingenuous to make it sound like you're doing all these great things, when again, it's the same core vendors. It's the same core product, and they never took the chance to grow. I hope they stick around. I hope this works out. I hope whatever. There are some amazing people still working there, especially on the production team. I gotta say that production team there, to this day, probably the best I've ever had. It's just their dedication, their abilities. They were fantastic. I could never say one bad thing about anyone, well, maybe one or two, on that production team there. I don't know most of the hosts there right now, so I can just say what I observe. And again, it's a similar kind of thing. They've got some hosts that need some more training. They're probably not getting it, and so it's difficult. So they're doing the best they can with the limited resources that they can. I shouldn't even say limited resources. That's not fair, because they have more resources there than networks that are making money have. And I've said this before, was one of the things that surprised me when I went to Liquidation Channel back a decade or so ago now, more than that, was how lean that operation was. And they were making money. It's like very lean operation. Did you work hard? Yes. But I had never had profit sharing. I don't know if I should say, well, yeah, I guess, no, they publicize it, so I can safely say this. I had never had a profit sharing check once in 20 years at this network that wanted to be QVC but couldn't, but yet the employees at this other network, much smaller, much leaner, was turning a profit. So what's wrong with this picture? So I hope if someone does take over ShopHQ, that they can maybe recognize the errors that have happened before. I don't know. We're going to see what happens. It's going to play out one way or the other. So I guess that is the news there. Again, I just do a quick check here just to see anyone. No more. Phone is finally quieted down, so no more gossip or anything coming through. And again, I do have rumors here. I do have speculation, but I'm not going to share any of that. So those are my thoughts as to what went wrong, because it's bankruptcy now. So it's they're still on the air. I hope they survive, and I hope that 6 months, a year from now, we can say that, wow, look at them turning around here. But as I've said many times, there was a day when in New York City I could shop at Macy's, Bloomingdale's, or Gimbel's, and I predicted this 20 years ago. Gimbel's went away. You had Macy's, you had Bloomingdale's. Macy's and Bloomingdale's are now the same thing. HSN and QVC are now the same thing, same company. So I hope ShopHQ doesn't become Gimbel's. They need to maybe focus on being Target or Walmart or Dollar General for that matter. But if they think whoever takes this over, if someone takes it over, I don't know. I said again 20, 25 years ago, because this company has a lot of homes. Of course, they're in debt to most of the cable home providers, but if they can make those people happy, the channels they're on are valuable. Someone might not be stupid to just take this, shut it down, and make it the next Food Network or Travel Channel or something that people are still watching. Sports Network. I don't know, but it's just those homes are valuable, and so it's as much as I hate to see people lose their job. I said 20 years ago that might be the answer, because if they think they're going to be Gimbel's, well, it ain't happening. So that's that. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss a show. Plus, you can listen to the archive of past shows. Again, I'll be back in September. Going to take the rest of the summer off. I hope you'll check me out on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Sean Wilsey, and on Instagram. By the way, one second, because I did forget to do a couple things, because there's a couple great friends of this show that I do want you to find. Again, I gave up the Facebook thing, but I want you to find Marvin Siegel. I want you to find Steve Bryant. I want you to find Tim Temple. These are some of the legends in the industry that have been... Bob Circosta. Oh, my gosh, how can I forget Bob? Who have been personal friends of mine, and I'm not going to pretend like the past year has been the easiest year in the world for me for reasons that I'm not going to go into, but they've been supportive. They have been great friends, and you learn how valuable real friends are. And so find them on social media, follow them. If they're selling something, go buy whatever it is that they're selling, because they really are amazing, amazing people and personal good friends. And I that means the world to me. So go do that. Anyway, where did I leave off? Well, I think I left off with thank you for downloading this edition of our We On the Air. This has been a King Bobby production.
Yes, I know, Travis. That's why we give such bargains.